there are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this. So we wish for our relationship with the United States to continue, and we wish to be taken care of by the big bro. You know, the United States should look after its little bro, and that's how we feel.
Especially places like Ireland that's grappling with a surge in immigration, which has led to a housing crisis and increased social tensions.
In the next 15 minutes, I'll break down exactly how Conor McGregor's confrontation with Keir Starmer represents a seismic shift in political influence that has establishment figures terrified. We'll analyze the raw footage of McGregor declaring that Ireland has a government of zero action with zero accountability, and reveal why this resonated with millions overnight. You'll see the exact moment Elon Musk threw his support behind McGregor's message, transforming what could have been dismissed as a celebrity rant into a legitimate political statement. Stay tuned for the exclusive breakdown of body language from everyone in the room, expert analysis on why this matters more than traditional political debates, and what this means for the future of who gets to speak on national issues. The moment Conor McGregor stepped onto the political stage, the carefully constructed facade of diplomatic politeness cracked. There he stood.
You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. We consider America our big sibling. So it's important for Ireland to have be a peaceful, happy, prosperous country for the 40 million Irish Americans to have a place to visit.
Irish UFC fighter Conor McGregor has visited the White House, where he met with Donald Trump, and he was there for St. Patrick's Day, and he insisted that his country is at the cusp of losing its Irishness.
A UFC champion, known for his punches rather than his politics, addressing serious issues with a directness that left Keir Starmer visibly squirming. The established order of who gets to speak on matters of national importance was suddenly thrown into disarray. For decades, we've accepted without question that certain voices, predominantly those of career politicians, seasoned diplomats, and approved media commentators, have the authority to shape national discussions. They form an exclusive club with unwritten membership rules that effectively sideline ordinary citizens' concerns. McGregor's confrontation tore through this veil of exclusivity. What made this exchange particularly electric wasn't just what McGregor said, but how he said it. There were no prepared talking points, no consultation with PR teams, no carefully measured diplomatic language. Instead, the fighter delivered a raw, unfiltered critique of Ireland's economic priorities that struck at the heart of citizens' concerns. When he highlighted how billions are funneled overseas, £18 billion to Ukraine and £12.8 billion in foreign aid, while describing the Irish budget as a black hole, he articulated the frustration felt by countless people watching their public services deteriorate. The body language in the room told its own story. As McGregor spoke about rural Irish communities feeling like a minority in one swoop due to rapid demographic changes, Starmer's discomfort was palpable. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's subtle expressions of approval revealed the emerging fault lines in how different political figures respond to these uncomfortable truths. The traditional political establishment simply doesn't know how to handle authenticity that hasn't been focus grouped. What makes McGregor's intervention significant isn't just the content of his criticisms, but the fact that he's forced a conversation typically confined to kitchen tables into the spotlight. Families who have lived for generations in Irish towns now feeling sidelined as resources stretch thin. These aren't typically topics that make it past the political gatekeepers. The discomfort McGregor caused is precisely what makes his perspective valuable. The establishment's playbook for handling such outsiders is predictable. Dismiss them as uninformed, dangerous, or simply irrelevant. But this strategy is losing effectiveness in an era where direct communication bypasses traditional channels. When someone with McGregor's profile speaks directly to millions, the usual tactics of marginalization fail spectacularly. Just as the political elite were preparing their standard response to McGregor's confrontation, something unprecedented occurred that completely dismantled their defense strategy. Elon Musk, with his 150 million followers, stepped into the arena and transformed what might have been dismissed as a celebrity's emotional outburst into a legitimate political dialogue that couldn't be ignored. The establishment's playbook for handling outsiders typically involves characterizing them as uninformed troublemakers whose opinions don't deserve serious consideration. But when Musk publicly backed McGregor, this tactic crumbled spectacularly. Suddenly, the fighter's concerns about immigration policies and government accountability gained the validation of one of the world's most influential tech figures. What made Musk's intervention particularly powerful was his direct challenge to Keir Starmer's narrative. While the British Prime Minister had assured everyone that free speech remained robust in the UK, Musk countered with a stark assessment. It's so crazy in Britain that they actually have released convicted pedophiles in order to imprison people for making social media posts that is a real thing that happened. Insane. This wasn't just disagreement. It was a complete dismantling of the official position from someone whose platform rivals that of major media organizations. The contrast between Starmer's response and McGregor's approach couldn't have been more revealing. The Prime Minister retreated to vague political language about focusing on community safety, the kind of non-committal phrasing politicians use when they'd rather not address uncomfortable truths. Meanwhile, McGregor and Musk spoke plainly about specific concerns that resonate with millions of ordinary citizens who feel their governments have abandoned them. This emerging alliance between different types of influencers, fighters, tech billionaires, and others with authentic voices represents a seismic shift in how public discourse functions. The traditional gatekeepers of political conversation can no longer control which topics receive attention or which voices deserve respect. When someone like Musk lends his credibility to concerns about free speech restrictions, social media censorship, and immigration policies, those issues cannot be casually dismissed. What we're witnessing is nothing less than a fundamental redistribution of influence. The establishment media tried desperately to frame McGregor's confrontation as nothing more than a celebrity disruption, but Musk's endorsement forced them to engage with the substance of the arguments. This dynamic exposes the growing gap between carefully managed political presentations and the raw, unfiltered concerns of citizens who feel unrepresented by their leaders. What we're witnessing isn't merely a headline-grabbing spat between a fighter and a politician. It's the unfolding of a profound shift in our political landscape. Experts point to this confrontation as emblematic of how social media and digital platforms have dramatically altered who wields political influence. McGregor's challenge to Starmer aligns with historical precedents where outsiders have successfully voiced the concerns of those feeling disenfranchised. The political establishment now faces a reckoning as non-traditional figures increasingly connect with public sentiment in ways career politicians often fail to achieve. Political analysts suggest we're experiencing a significant power redistribution where authenticity trumps institutional authority. This trend extends beyond McGregor and Musk to a broader movement where outsiders force uncomfortable conversations into mainstream discourse. The true significance lies not in assessing McGregor's specific claims, but in recognizing the emergence of a new political paradigm, one where traditional gatekeepers no longer monopolize national conversations about immigration, identity, and governance. As established structures struggle to maintain narrative control, we're likely witnessing just the beginning of a fundamental realignment in how political influence operates in the modern age.